In our top story, Oscar Pistorius will be sentenced on October 13th after being found guilty of culpable homicide for the killing of his girlfriend Reeva Steenkamp. While Judge Thokozile Masipa has granted a bail extension for Pistorius, who avoided a more serious murder charge after the High Court in Pretoria found he was indeed negligent in the shooting of Steenkamp through a locked toilet door. Masipa, however, ruled that he did not intend to kill Reeva.
I have used my discretion in favor of the accused. I grant the application to extend the bail of the accused on the same conditions.
Well, Oscar Pistorius, as you've heard, will be sentenced on October 13th after being found guilty of culpable homicide for the killing of his girlfriend Reeva Steenkamp. Well, Judge Thokozile Masipa granted a bail extension to Oscar, who avoided the more serious murder charge after Masipa found he was negligent in the shooting of Steenkamp through a locked toilet door, but ruled that he did not intend to kill her. Well, Professor Stephen Tuson is a law professor at Wits University, and he's on the line now. Good afternoon, Professor, and thank you for your time on the PM News Desk.
Good afternoon.
Look, well, a number of legal experts today have called the judge's ruling on the dolus eventualis aspect of this murder charge surprising and a little bit off kilter. Do they have a point, Professor?
Yes, I think they do. Her finding that he lacked dolus eventualis, which is foreseeing that shooting through the door could kill someone, by finding that he did not have that foresight, I think there was an error of fact there, that her assessment of the facts, more particularly when she looked at his negligence, she said any reasonable person so close to the door, in such a confined space, shooting so many shots, would foresee that you would kill someone. So that finding on negligence is directly contradictory to her finding that Oscar himself did not actually foresee that by shooting through the door he would kill anyone.
So you are saying,
surprising.
So you are saying that there is indeed an error in the law here, and does this constitute grounds for the state to now move on to an appeal?
No, I didn't say that's actually an error of law. That is a factual error, her assessment of the evidence. It could be an error of law if she also required that he had to have foresight, not just of killing anyone, but he had to have had foresight of killing particularly Reeva. That is not our law, and that would amount to an error of law, which would be appealable. Ordinarily, the state does not have the right to appeal an adverse verdict. They lose a case, they have to accept it. But if there's an error of law, the state are entitled to appeal that error of law.
Prof, can you tell us why Oscar Pistorius was found not guilty of murder? Take us through the judge's reasoning for rejecting the murder charges.
Well, she was absolutely 100% correct in respect of the premeditated murder charges. She found that the evidence of the ear witnesses and all the other forensic, particularly the ear witnesses and the neighbours, was just too bitty. They were too far, not hearing clearly. It was their interpretation rather than what they knew. There was no direct eyewitnesses to what was happening, and she was quite right in saying that in these circumstances it would be unwise to rely on their evidence and his version on the premeditation. There was no evidence to suggest that there was an argument which would be necessary to prove premeditated murder. But she was 100% correct on that regard. But with respect to dolus eventualis, it's quite important that you understand that if he foresaw the killing of any human being behind that door, and he persisted in that conduct, knowing it could cause death, there will be sufficient intention for dolus eventualis, provided he was aware that what he was doing was against the law. Now, she simply found that, in her finding of fact, was that he did not foresee that he was going to kill anyone. That's a very hard finding to make on the circumstances. I mean, you shoot 4 shots through a door, it's probably going to kill the person behind it. Yeah.
Professor Stephen Tuson, law professor at Wits University, thank you for your time on the PM News Desk. Well, moving on, Pistorius' uncle Arnold has expressed gratitude to Judge Masipa. He says the family was always convinced that Oscar had not intended to kill Steenkamp. Arnold Pistorius was addressing the media in an empty courtroom.
On behalf of the family, we would really like to show how deep grateful we are for Judge Masipa that he has found Oscar not guilty of murder. That's a big burden of our shoulders and Oscar. We always knew the facts of the matter, and we had never any doubt in Oscar's version of this tragic incident. At this stage, however, the matter remains before the court. Arguments in mitigation and aggravation for sentence still need to be delivered. It would be highly inappropriate for the family to make any further statements at this stage regarding merits of the case and findings of the court. We respect the fact that the legal process is not over and must always be run in the course of justice.